history, we learned not only the biblical part of history, but years later, around as we move forward to AD, because what I'm talking about is mainly BC. As we found out that this man that existed, who is called Jesus at the time, the language during that time that they spoke was called Aramaic. It's a dead language which is hardly spoken, but it was a language that they used at that time. So, think about this. Think about everything being everything was written down in a dead language, was Aramaic. Think about now the Greeks and Romans, or think about whatever culture came after that. How could they translate that? Which was a language hardly ever spoken. But during the Greeks and Roman times, yes, they had some people, I'm assuming they had some people who spoke the language, which I'm not even sure that they did. I'm not sure, because I'm not sure of all the languages in the world, but I had a feeling that maybe they had some type of translators who could translate Aramaic. So, you also learned about the different god and goddesses throughout Greek and Roman times, or during that period. And you'll learn that these people believed in different things, just as the Mayans believed in the stars, in astrology. The Romans and Greeks had their own god and goddesses, or should I say they had their own way of thinking of how can the sun come down, the sun shine, rain come down, how the plants grew, things like that. As you learn in history, basically, like I said, this documentary is basically, I'm just taking excerpts of different things that I've read and kind of throwing it out to the viewer, to you to figure it out. So this is your chance to kind of read up things that I'm talking about. But we moved forward and we learned that this man that was called Jesus, who had died, who was crucified. At the time, if you think about it, when the Romans were in power, crucifixion was the punishment we know as today as a lethal injection. So crucifixion was, if you committed a crime, then your punishment was death. And if you think about it now, some countries today still do that. Not the crucifixion, but they still kill you. Or should I say, if you think about it, in any and every country, if you've, think about being on death row, and if you've done something very bad, you're on death row, you know you're going to get lethal injection. Well, at the time, this is what they were doing. Crucifixions was something during that time. And it's not even in the Bible. You don't even have to read it. But if you could go and hear some history books, learn about Roman history, you'll figure out that was one of their that was the death sentence. They also had things like they would cut off your hands, your feet. If you think about it, past AD, thinking about 1100 AD, when Europe at the time was mainly a Caucasian white, or however you want to call it. Mainly that's what it was. And if you think about it, at that time, they had a plague called the death, or the Black Plague, if you wanted to call it. And that wiped out a lot of people. So at the time, not only during BC or AD, they had different plagues. We had, if you read